Welcome back to the 1981 Digital Video Blog. Today we'll be talking about bounce rate, what it is, and how to improve yours. If you spent any amount of time diving into your business's website analytics, you've probably seen this term bounce rate. So what is it? Well, your site's bounce rate is the percentage of site visits that are only single-page sessions, where the user leaves without visiting a second page. Bounce rate is calculated by taking the total number of single-page visits divided by the total number of visitors to the website. Bounce rate is essentially just a metric that shows engagement. I like to think of this metric as answering the question, are people having meaningful visits on my site? Bounce rate is a key indicator for Google's placement, but there isn't a specific percentage your site needs to be hitting. Each industry has a different standard, and HubSpot has compiled a list that shows average bounce rates across different types of sites. Take these numbers with a grain of salt, but they could offer some insight into page performance. 40 to 60% for content websites, 30 to 50% for lead generation websites, 70 to 90% for blog posts, 20 to 40% for retail or e-commerce websites, 10 to 30% for service websites, and 70 to 90% for landing pages. If your bounce rate currently isn't lining up with your industry benchmark, don't fret. Bounce rate is something that can be worked on continuously, and we have a few ideas on where to start. Before you jump right into making changes, you should take some time to get an understanding of your site analytics. This will help you understand where changes are needed the most. And with that in mind, here are a few examples of effective ways to improve pages with higher bounce rates. One way to reduce bounce rate is to reconsider how it's being calculated. Google will count a bounce as someone who spends a substantial amount of time on one page so long as they don't go to another page before leaving your site. A solution that you can implement is a virtual page view in Google Analytics for applicable events. This helps to create a more accurate representation of what bounce rate is on your site. Diving into your analytics to identify the different traffic sources of users can be beneficial to understanding where your website's bounce rate is most in need of improvement. For example, people coming from an organic search may discover your content is exactly what they're looking for and have a lower bounce rate and a higher conversion rate. However, that isn't necessarily the case for someone who finds you through a social channel or even a PPC ad. If you're trying to increase the engagement of visitors on your site, the most effective action is to identify and highlight content that you think they'll like. This is another reason it's important to get a good understanding of who your customer is. An excellent indicator of this is which pages are seeing the most traffic organically. Once you've identified what that content is, you can design your website around that set of most engaging content. If you're seeing a vast majority of your traffic coming from returning visitors over new visitors, keep your content feeling fresh and new. Update content when available and use new imagery. This will make the content feel less stale to returning visitors, while also increasing the chance that returning visitors will engage differently on your website. In addition to displaying the most relevant and popular content, you can also make improvements to the design of your site. This might include improving imagery, using good color contrast, or crafting better calls to actions on pages. If our goal was to get a user to check out the 1981 blog, we'd want to make sure there is a clear call to action driving users there. Your goal with your site should be what will give my visitors the best possible user experience. And part of that is having as easily navigable site as possible. Having a clear, hierarchical structure will vastly improve that user experience. Make it easy for your customers to find exactly what they're looking for. If a user is frustrated by how hard it is to find what they need, their chances of converting get slimmer, and their chances of bouncing are even higher. Factor into your consideration what device your users are browsing their site on. If your site is designed beautifully for a desktop experience, but you haven't put any time into mobile responsiveness, and your customer is mostly engaging on mobile, then their experience won't be seamless and their likelihood of bouncing increases. Your site needs to cater to both mobile and desktop responsiveness. Another important fix that can help your bounce rate is page load time. Studies show that users are more likely to leave a page if it takes more than just a few seconds to load. There are several tools to help with understanding your load time, but we recommend starting with Google's free service, PageSpeed Insights. Lastly, removing pop-up ads and other data-heavy elements from your site can help to reduce bounce rate. Try A/B testing different improvement ideas to be confident that the changes you made are positive overall. Comparing your bounce rate by channel, i.e. organic, social, referral, paid, or direct, will help you to see whether those are issues with traffic sources that could indicate other issues. If one channel sees a higher bounce rate, it's worth investigating your campaigns and efforts for that specific channel. For instance, if people are coming to your site from a pay-per-click advertisement, make sure the content on that landing page is specific to the ad. If you haven't already, you should consider creating landing pages specific to your campaigns with very clear calls to action. This will help reduce your bounce rate. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Video Blog. As always, if you have any questions or topics that you want to see us cover, leave those in the comments below, and have a blessed rest of your day.